Hey, what's up, everybody? Happy Monday. Um, the days keep just flying by, and we're right back to the work week again, and gonna get on that grind. It is a little bit warm this morning, 18 degrees, and with a high of 31, snow for sure, uh, starting late afternoon, early evening. 7:05 is the sunrise, and 4:59 is the sun set. So the days are getting longer. I noticed I didn't have to turn my headlights on before I got home this weekend. So it's spring is coming. Spring is coming. Um, and so I guess we'll just move right into it. We're finishing up Ruth this week. We're gonna finish Ruth this week, no matter what. If I don't get through it, or if I do, and then we're gonna go into John, leading up into Passion Week um, and Easter. So let's pick up in Ruth. We're in Ruth chapter 3, and let's pick up in verse 7. Verse 7, Ruth chapter 3 and verse 7. And when Boaz had eaten and drunk, and his heart was merry, he went to lie down at the end of the heap of grain. Then she came softly and uncovered his feet and lay down. Right? So she didn't want to awake him. Um, and at midnight, verse 8, the man was startled and turned over, and behold, a woman lay at his feet. He said, "Who are you?" And she answered, "I am Ruth, your servant." She answered, "I am Ruth, your servant." So she put herself in proper submission, right? So she laid at his feet, called herself her servant. Now, this is a maid servant. And in the Jewish culture, right, there's a difference between a maid servant and a slave servant. And so this was the word used for maid servant. And um, the maid servant was like, I guess, I don't want to say girlfriend, but um, had 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 more place in the home than a slave servant. Um, okay. I am Ruth, your servant. Spread your wings over your servant, for you are a redeemer. So she knows, right? She knows that the safety is under the wing of the redeemer. And if we're keeping up with our imagery of Christ and the church and Christ and salvation, there's only only one place to be saved, right? And there's only one real redeemer, and that is Christ. But the place, in order to be there, we have to become his maid servant, his his loved for servant, right? Um, and that we love him and we want to be there and we submit ourselves to him, and he covers us with his wing, right? That's where the protection is. It's in our loving service and submission to him at his feet, and his wing covers us. Spread your wings over your servant, for you are a redeemer. And he said, "May you be blessed by the Lord, my daughter." Where does blessings come from? The Lord. He knows that. Um, you have made this you have made this last kindness greater than the first, in that you have not gone after young men, whether poor or rich. So no matter the man, poor or rich, but her, poor or rich, she's not going after any of them, right? And that's talking about her worthy character. Again, he's looking to her character to see if she's worthy, and she has not given herself away to any man, right? To whether she's poor, whether he's poor or rich, but for her to come up out of being poor or being rich, she still hasn't given herself up, right? And then verse 11, and now, my daughter, do not fear. I will do for you all that you ask, for all my fellow townsmen know that you are a worthy woman. So she's carried herself in a way that everybody knows she's a worthy woman. Okay, and this is I think this is important. Um, this is important to Boaz. How how he watched her, how he observed her, um, the questions that he asked his man in the field, right? And it states that he was a worthy man, and so now we see these character traits of a worthy woman here in Ruth. And so again, now let's look at our literary analogy here. So if this were how the woman, the wife, the bride of Christ was supposed to carry themselves, for him to um, want to want to redeem us, to save us, well then we have to be worthy in some sort of way, right? And what is that? What is that worthiness? Okay? Well, we're not. See, that's the key. That's the thing. We're not worthy. We don't deserve to be redeemed. We don't deserve to be saved, and we don't deserve um, the that free gift of eternal life. We don't deserve it. And he says in Deuteronomy why he does it, because he loved us. It's because he loved us. So when we do carry ourselves worthy, right? When we do carry ourselves worthy, and show our redemptive qualities, um, we can. I guess what I'm trying to say is, there's times where I'm introduced to a person, or I'm talking to a person, and if they're not saved, I know they will be. And it's how do I know that? I guess I don't, right? I guess I don't, and we never know. But um, there's character traits of being worthy, right? So I think back to pre-salvation, when I first met my wife. She was saved, I wasn't, and in the conversations we had, she said, by how I answered, she knew eventually I would be saved, right? She knew at some point I would have a righteous heart, um, and so I think that's what Boaz is looking for here in the woman, and I think that's what Christ looks for in us. Uh, are we truly reprobate, right? Is there anything in us that shows a worthy or redemptive quality? Some people don't, right? Some people just don't. Um, I don't know. That's for you to be convicted of, I suppose. Here's the thing, though. Really, we don't know. Okay, we don't know, and people change, right? Some people might show themselves unworthy in a moment, or a moment of time, and go through something, and it changes them, and then they show themselves worthy later. So we don't know. But what we do know is how people act, and then it goes back to kind of like the cast my pearls before swine type of thing. Um, we leave our nuggets, and we don't have to worry about that, right? We plant our seeds, we drop our seeds on the ground, and we don't have to worry about that, right? And notice, you know, people know if how you act and if you're worthy or not, right? He says, "For my fellow townsmen know that you are a worthy woman." So, we there's witness about our actions, witness about our testimony, witness about our conversation, and how do we carry ourselves? How do we carry ourselves? And verse 12, and now it is true that I am a redeemer, yet there is a redeemer nearer than I. So he doesn't just jump right in, right? He wants to do things the right way. Okay, Boaz wants to do things the right way, and he wants to keep it worthy. He says, remain tonight, and in the morning I will redeem you. And in the morning, if he will redeem you, good, let him do it. But if he is not willing to redeem you, then as the Lord lives, I will redeem you. Lie down until morning. So she lay at his feet until morning, but arose before one could recognize another. And he said, let it not be known that the woman came to the threshing floor. So is he trying to keep this a secret? Well, yeah, he is, but I don't think it's trying to be deceitful. I think he wants to keep her worthy reputation. I think that's his concern here. I don't think it's about trying to pull one over on anybody, because he's going to go to the other who is closer as a redeemer. Now, again, going back to our literary analogy, if we're continuing this about Christ and the woman and the church and the bride of Christ being the church, so we know there's only one place we can be redeemed, right? And there's only one place for salvation. So there are going to be others that present that way, right? There are going to be opportunities to look to someone else for that redemption and for that salvation. There's idols all over that that come close to looking like him as well. That there's idols that and things that seem somewhat right, or soothe the ears in a way that makes us think that they're the Redeemer, but there really is only one. Okay, and that is the one place for salvation, and others will come in that light, or in that likeness, but they're not him, and they're not the way. Okay, and so he says in verse 15, and he said, bring the garment you are wearing and hold it out. So she held it out, and he measured out 6 measures of barley and put it on her. And she went into the city. And when she came to her mother-in-law, she said, how did you fare, my daughter? Then she told her all that he had done for her, saying, these 6 measures of barley he gave to me, for he said to me, you must not go back empty-handed to your mother-in-law. She replied, wait, my daughter, until you learn how the matter turns out, for the man will not rest, but will settle the matter today. When it's time to be redeemed, it's going to be settled. And that matter is settled in that day. And that eternal life and our place in heaven is sealed that day. And the relationship and the being his and his witness bears spirit with our his spirit bears witness with our spirit, and seals us before the Lord, before God the Father, as heirs, joint heirs with Christ. We are in that redemption, in that salvation. We have claim to the throne in heaven as a joint heir with the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. And we're going to be singing in heaven with the angels, and we're redeemed and set apart and separated from those that aren't. And we are shown worthy, right? We are proved worthy, and we are to carry ourselves as worthy, as the bride of Christ, as one redeemed by him. And it is settled today.